Welcome to the podcast. We Do Recover with Jared Miller, your host.
And I'm Dr. Terry Sellers, your co-host.
This is a podcast about recovery from addiction.
We want to talk about what successful recovery can look like.
Brought to you by Steps Recovery Center and the St. George Hilton Garden Inn.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's that time again. It's Friday at 4 o'clock. We Do Recover is on the air. I'm the host of this thing, Jared Miller. So I got the rest of the hooligans joining me today, as usual, and we have amazing Melissa Mitchell with us. Welcome.
Thanks, Jared.
Absolutely. So I got a question for you, Doc.
Uh-oh.
What happens when you touch Dwayne Johnson's butt?
Hold on. I'm going to come up with this. Give me a second.
Shot clock.
You've hit rock bottom.
You've hit rock bottom. Hey, there's the dad joke of the podcast.
I came up with it. You've hit rock bottom.
So I've been watching, I was
so proud of myself for that.
Good job.
Thanks for letting me have that opportunity.
Did you see the same TikTok I saw?
No.
I stole it off of TikTok. That's not an original.
That's all right. It's yours now.
Yeah, I love it. Well, this show started off a little crazy, and I also love that. Episode 49, we're almost at 50. Part 1 is brought to you by Steps Recovery Centers, where addiction ends and healing begins. If you or a loved one need help, give them a call. You can get a hold of them at 801-800-8142. One last time, that's 801-800-8142. All right. Are you doing check-ins? I
don't know what's happening here. What I like is when we fly by the seat of our pants, because that's my middle name.
Middle name.
So...
Hold on. Dr. Terry, fly by the seat of my pants.
Sellers. Right. It's a long middle name, but it works for me.
Can we also get your social and your date of birth?
Yeah, 267. Sorry, that was the first 3 digits. If anyone wants to try to guess the other 7.
He legit was going to give it, this guy.
Well, there's only 6 more. 43. I saw Sean write something down, so I thought he was actually writing my Social Security down. I don't care. What are you going to get out of my account? There's nothing in there. You could raid all my accounts and you'd have $11.
There you go.
Okay, so let's see. I'm going to call you out first. The first is, no, you don't like it when things start crazy. You like order and structure, and I am fine without order and structure. In fact, I thrive in that. So little conflict today so far because I showed up a little bit late, which is pretty common, but I also was... 11 minutes late from being 30 minutes early, by the way. So here we are, 4 o'clock on a Friday afternoon. We've never done a Friday afternoon one. It's our first Friday afternoon podcast, so everyone's in a little bit different mood. Everyone's kind of awake. I'm awake, at least. Usually I'm asleep in the morning. So let's start with what we start with, new and good. What is new and good in the world of Jared Q. Miller?
Well, new and good. Let's see. I got the baby face back. So check it out. Like, I like to keep the beard a certain shape, right? The box shape. You know what I mean? And after doing some yard work,
what's the box shape?
You know,
it's
like
a little squared off.
Yeah, a little squared off. You know, and after doing some yard work, it was starting to itch the neck, and I threw a clip on there and I tried trimming underneath, and then I was like, "What have I done?" And so then I'm trying to embrace the baby face. Okay, it's fine.
So, is it better? I mean, I know you don't love the grieving look, but here's my real question was, I looked in my car on the way in, and my car said it was 111 degrees.
Oh, it's cooler, for sure.
So, is it better to do yard work without the beard?
Yeah, okay, absolutely.
Good, then embrace that.
Yeah.
Embrace that. When winter comes, you can have a nice squared off beard. Mr. Donovan in the corner. What's new and good?
I got a new refrigerator.
What the heck?
Nice.
Yeah, you missed it last week.
I did?
Yeah, my refrigerator broke, so I've had a week and a half of no fridge.
Oh,
eating all the dry goods and stuff, lots of eating out. I have like one of those little tiny college refrigerators with like a half gallon of milk, 1 egg, and 3 cheese sticks.
Oh my
So they came in today, they installed it, and for the first time in 5 years, I actually have an ice maker and a water thing built into the door. So
sweet.
You're bougie,
I'm like,
Sean.
yeah. Totally excited, totally stoked, but I have to wait 3 days for the water to siphon through.
Oh, sure.
Dumb thing.
Sorry about that.
But I have a fridge.
But you have a full fridge.
I have
That's
a fridge.
Awesome. Yeah. You know what's really amazing about that is if we think about it, I'll bet you 90% of the world doesn't have a refrigerator. And we're freaked out that we have to go 3 days without one. That's that's the life in America.
Hey,
isn't
that's
it?
my world. Okay,
No, I get
my
it.
problems.
You don't live in Bangladesh. I get it.
Yep.
If I'm having to swat flies off my eyeballs, that's something different. I'll complain about that. But here, I have no fridge.
Have
You know?
you swatted flies off your eyeballs recently?
No, but you've seen the TV. You've seen the people begging for money for the kids in Africa, and the flies are on the eyeballs. They're not blinking.
Is Sarah McLaughlin?
They're not blinking fast
They're
enough.
not Sarah McLaughlin. The other one. She does the pets.
I know she does
Who's
dogs.
the other
Sorry.
lady? She asks for all the Sally.
Suzanne Summers?
No.
Sally Fields?
No. Who's the lady that asks
Let's
for
go.
the?
Let's keep going.
Okay.
Sally Struthers.
Yes, Sally Struthers.
Okay.
Asking for money for the kids in Africa.
Okay.
And they sit there and they look sad at you, and there's flies. They don't blink when the fly's on the eyeball. You notice that?
I have not noticed that.
Yeah,
That's interesting.
the kids are like, I don't care. My life is horrible. There's a fly on my eyeball, and I don't care.
You know what else they do?
And that's the problem that they have.
They don't go home to their refrigerators.
But if they did, they'd be happy,
Yeah, they would.
like me.
All right.
There you
Well,
go.
I'm glad you got a new fridge. That's awesome. We have Melissa Mitchell in studio. Melissa Mitchell, what's new and good in your world?
Well, I went to teach a group about SMART goals a few weeks ago,
Nice.
and I looked at my visions and goals when I left treatment, and there was only one I hadn't followed through with.
Whoa,
One.
that's pretty new and
Hold
good.
on, Melissa. You're telling me you still have the paperwork and stuff from when you went to treatment?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You're on a whole nother level, girl.
Right
She's
next to
on
my
a-
bed.
Yeah, she's on another
She's on
level.
a whole nother
There's
level.
no question.
So that goal was going back to school. So I have my transcripts, and I start in the spring.
Hey, that's pretty new and good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have the piece of paper I filled out yesterday with my goals on it.
Well, that's where the OCD kicks
So,
in.
yeah, well, I guess it's helpful. I don't have much of that. I can tell you that.
We were
So-
talking about that before we got started. She's my soul sister because we
Yeah,
can
you-
relate to
yeah,
each
you
other.
two can do this.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. You guys are organized, at least, in your lives.
Great minds unite. So, Dr. Sellers, what's new
Oh
and
my
good with
gosh,
you?
Nothing. I have nothing at all. I have nothing.
Well,
I
you know what? I don't know if it's new, but that shirt.
Oh, it's good.
Wow.
Well, don't ask
Where do
Sean.
you shop,
Don't
Sellers?
ask Sean if it's
Let's
good,
get
but
that.
it's good. I shop online.
Yeah?
A lot,
Do
yeah.
you just type in craziest outfits known to
No.
mankind?
No. That is a shirt from Wish.com.
No,
That is Wish.com
Not
material
Wish.
written all over it.
No,
Not Wish,
it
'cause you can't-
fits.
no.
It can't be from Wish.
Yeah,
No,
because
no.
Wish,
Yeah.
I've ordered a 5XL from Wish before, and it's not even close to
Yeah.
fitting.
Yeah. It's like a
Yeah,
kid's small.
and they don't make a 6XL, so I can't order shirts from Wish. The shoes that I have on are from
It
Wish.
looks like a Crayola pack exploded
It
all
is
over
a,
you.
It is
Yes.
a Crayola pack. That's
Finger
exactly
paint sneezed all over you.
exactly what I was going for. PaulFrederick.com. That's a shout out. Send us some cash.
Hey.
Paul Frederick makes some really nice shirts. I really love them, and I've got about 12 of them, and they're not very expensive. This shirt was $39. It's not terrible.
I like it.
So I'll go with that. Thanks for giving me a new and good. I got
Yeah.
a new shirt.
Yeah, so I'm going to lead you into Melissa. How do you know
Okay.
Melissa?
I don't know. Can't remember. Can't
Oh,
remember
Melissa, how do you know this
can't
character
remember
over
what I
here? How
did
long
yesterday.
How long you known Dr. Sellers for?
22 years.
What the heck?
Has he always had a mug that big?
I don't think it fit in his car
Oh.
Yeah, no.
at the time.
Yeah, I used to drive a Porsche.
Oh, yeah, that mug wouldn't fit in a Porsche.
A Porsche. You know what about I learned about Porsches?
They're expensive.
Yeah, and the Germans are. But I was in a practice where they paid for a car, and the other two guys were driving more expensive cars than that. So I'm like, if I didn't get a car that was sort of expensive, they were going to get more money than I was. And I'm like, I'm not doing that. I'll buy an expensive car because they're paying for it. But the Germans are kind of serious about driving.
That's a real world doctor problem, isn't it?
It kind of is, and I don't have that problem anymore. I hustled down here in my wife's beat up 2007. It is a Volkswagen Passat, the Passat's a nice Volkswagen, but it's beat up and it's really old. So
That's great. Let's answer the question. How
I've
do you guys
gotten
know
over-
each other?
I got off track.
Left turn.
I think I might have taken some crack on the way down or something. I don't know.
I got somebody you can talk to about
I don't
that.
do
She's
crack.
sitting right
I
over there.
don't do crack. I never have.
Back in labor and delivery. I was a high school intern, and then he delivered my first niece.
Wow.
I was driving a Porsche.
How long ago was that?
22 years ago.
Nice.
It was 97, 98.
Was he
actually.
still dressing as crazy as he does today
Not
back
so
then?
much. Not quite as much for sure. I wore a lot of scrubs
Yeah.
because when you deliver babies, you don't want to get stuff on your new shirt.
No, there's times we'd be sitting in the labor room going, where is he? He'll be rolling in his Porsche anytime.
I'll
Kind
get
of like
the-
we were this morning with the
I'll
podcast.
get
And there he rolled in. Convertible.
I like it.
Yep.
Yeah, it was a convertible Porsche.
I think he had more hair back then to blow in the
Oh,
wind.
for sure.
Yeah.
All right, Dr. Sellers, she's all yours, man.
All right, let's get going.
Let's get her journey.
I got to finish my thing.
Oh, yeah.
One thing I learned about Porsches,
Oh, yeah.
they're serious about driving. There is no drink holders in the entire car. So
Yeah.
you can't, I mean,
It's not a luxury.
You're
No,
either-
it's a sports car.
Yeah, they're driving. They
Yeah.
want to pay attention to the road. They don't want to be doing that drinking and eating stuff that Americans do all the time. So, okay, thanks. Melissa, let's start with, so I have known you a long time, and I've known you in a couple of different regards in your life, but let's start today, and we're going to move backwards, okay? So tell us right today a little bit about you. Family, kids, names, what you do, that kind of stuff.
So today, in November, my husband and I will have been married 20 years. Together for
Congratulations.
24.
Whoa.
Yeah. And I have an 18-year-old son
Whoa.
starting his sophomore year in college. A 15-year-old son. So the oldest is Riley. Next one is Casey. And
Shout out to
my
Riley and Casey.
daughter will be 13 next month. And her
Wow.
name is Brooklyn.
Wow.
She's blessed.
That's cool.
Yeah. God's been good to her.
So, wait, 3 kids are at home?
3 kids.
They're all at home?
Mhm.
Okay. But where's the oldest? Riley, right?
Yeah.
Where's Riley going to school?
He's going to Snow so he can finish his associates without losing credits. And then he'll
Um,
go up to Utah State.
Can he live at home and go to Snow?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep.
So he's still at home.
Yep.
All right. So you're not losing anybody this year.
Not this year.
Team still has 5 players.
Team still has 5 players. It was
Alright.
touch and go for a minute.
Yeah. Thought we were gonna have to.
That
get
mom
a
fear came
substitute.
up. Yep.
Yeah. The mom fear is different. It's not something I completely understand, but
Yeah.
I'm so happy when my kids move out. I can't stand it.
We're pretty sure he's 18 going on 40.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
I got a 40-year-old going on 18. All right. So what do you do? Tell us about what do you do for work?
Well, I work at Pathways Homeless Center
Oh, my
in
God.
Glenwood. And I'm
Where's
at
Glenwood? For those of us that don't know.
by Richfield.
Okay.
7
Glenwood.
miles east of Richfield.
Glenwood's a suburb of Richfield, if you can believe that Richfield has suburbs.
Yes, on the other side of the hayfield suburb.
Right. On the other side of the hayfield.
Turn left at the
suburb.
Watusies. Yep.
Nice.
What is the Watusies?
The cows in the field when you turn.
Really?
The big horned cows.
Oh,
Come on,
that's
you
a
know
Watusi?
Watusis, right? Yeah.
I thought the
Watusis.
Watusi was
Yeah.
a dance.
It sounds like
Can you
something.
dance the Watusi?
Yeah.
I think so.
I can't.
I can't either. I can't dance anything. But all right. So how long you been doing that?
I've been at Pathways for a year.
Okay.
And I'm a tech, recovery specialist, and auditing compliance intake specialist.
Oh, you're not the person that sends me a little thing every month that says, "Hey, you're missing these notes," are you?
Every week.
Oh,
We love those people.
We'll let
don't we?
Ty do it now, though.
seems like really.
Then we can be better friends.
I actually don't. I don't. That stuff doesn't upset me at all. It's totally fine. Okay, so let's go backwards then. Tell us how. I know you because I met you in treatment. That's not the only way. That's not the first time I met you, but I met you in treatment once upon a time in 2017, I believe. 16, did we decide, or 17?
17, 4
Hold on a
years
minute.
ago.
Are you telling me we have a guest that struggled with substance abuse?
Yes, I think so.
We have a guest that's either done drugs or alcohol
right.
It's a secret.
Right.
on
Don't-
this kind of podcast? That's crazy. Oh, sorry.
Don't tell anybody.
Oh, shoot.
Jeez, have we ever had a guest that didn't struggle with drugs and alcohol?
I don't think so.
Yes, we do. I think
Who?
Susan Peterson.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
John Gossett.
Yeah, John Gossett.
Okay,
yeah.
sorry. I'm getting
Yeah,
sidetracked.
sure. Okay, so tell us how you came to treatment. What was going on? Tell us about. No, let's not do that. Never mind. I'm going to change my schedule. Tell us about your childhood.
So I grew up in a house that had 5. I have 5 siblings, and I'm the youngest of the oldest 3. So third child.
I got confused on that.
I know.
Yeah.
No, I
Third
get it.
child.
I get it.
Third child. Middle child syndrome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We do have a lot in common.
I'm telling you. Maybe that's where the OCD comes in.
I think
I
that's
don't
it.
know. I don't know.
Where'd you grow up?
Provo.
Okay. Oh, geez. That's a terrible place
On the west
to grow
side.
up. On the west side.
The
That's
west
even
side.
worse. West side, she's got gang signs.
Throwing it up.
She's got gang signs. Okay. Where'd you go to high school?
Provo High.
Okay. All right.
That's where me and my husband met.
That was probably back before Provo High was quite as gangsta as it is today.
Not necessarily.
Okay. I might be wrong. I might be
Let
wrong.
me guess,
Yeah.
Marlboro Reds and tight jeans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Wow.
So I was
I'm
15.
cultured, dude.
I was 15 when I met Abe, my husband.
Okay.
So
He seems
Met him
like
at
a
school?
good guy. He's out here.
he is.
What a nice dude.
He's so
Yeah,
supportive.
I don't. Have I met him
Yeah.
in the delivery room
No.
in treatment?
Yes.
Awkward.
Okay. What's awkward?
No.
The fact that I can't remember yesterday, that's not awkward to me. That's my life. That stuff doesn't bother me.
No. He stood by me through some
That's
pretty rough
nice.
stuff.
Yeah, for
So-
sure. Let's talk about some of the rough stuff, though.
Yeah.
So what happened in your childhood how was childhood? How would you describe it?
Childhood is a little rough because I was different, and so my parents had to parent me different.
What do you mean you were different?
I wasn't like my older sister, who was the academic band. I was into boys and music and being,
A rock star.
yeah,
Yeah.
marbles and tight jeans.
Marbles and tight jeans, baby. I'm cultured. Woo!
So I guess that's where the feelings of being hard to love came in. Those deep core beliefs.
That's
Yeah.
a belief you
So-
developed about yourself?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm.
Because I was different. There were times they didn't know what to do with me.
You didn't fit into the mold.
So
No.
I want to explore that for a second, because how many times have we heard that on this podcast? I was different.
Just about every episode.
Like every episode, right?
Yeah.
Like literally almost every episode. And, well, mind you, we're talking mostly to people who have struggled with drugs and alcohol, right? But that's for sure a common denominator. I'm not sure that drugs and alcohol are the only kids that feel different, though, in life. I'm sure there's a lot of kids out there that didn't use drugs and alcohol that felt different, too. But it's awfully common in this crowd, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
Can I cut you off and ask
Yeah,
you a question?
please.
So, Melissa, do you think that
I'm rambling.
I agree with Dr. Sellers. A lot of people feel like they're different. Would you say that you found either drugs or alcohol? I don't even know what your DOC is yet. As a way to cope?
No. Much later in life,
Okay.
it was a way to numb from those deep core beliefs.
Got you.
Because my story leads to being diagnosed with bipolar 20 years later of being misdiagnosed.
Got ya.
okay.
So once we figured that out, it all made sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you feel different. Do you remember when you first started feeling different? First of all, I'm just going to say feeling different tends not to happen at home as much as it does at school or in social settings.
I felt normal in school and social settings.
Okay, that's
It was
interesting.
at home.
So you felt different at home
Mm-hmm.
because you had an older sister that was. Can I throw out a weird word that I don't believe, but I'm going to throw it out? You had an older sister that was better,
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
At
my
least that was
my
your
core
thought.
belief.
right?
Clear
That's
to
what I'm saying. I don't.
Yep.
I don't believe that at all. I don't believe your older sister was better at all.
Yep.
But you probably felt that,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
So that's another thing we do. Like one of the things I see a lot is a lot of comparisons in
Mm-hmm.
people who with addiction problems. We compare ourselves, and the problem is we're comparing our innermost thoughts and feelings with someone's outside external appearance,
Mm-hmm.
which is just not apples to apples at all,
Yeah.
right?
That's also a common thing on this podcast.
What comparing the
Yeah,
comparison
the
stuff? Yeah,
insides,
that's
outsides,
yeah,
yeah.
for sure.
Yeah. So-
Absolutely. So you're comparing how you feel and how how your heart works and how your brain works to what your sister looks like.
Yep.
And I'm not saying physically looks. I'm just saying the presentation your sister gives off, right?
Yep.
Okay. So you didn't, in your own mind, you didn't measure up to that comparison.
No, and even trying to follow in footsteps, it failed every time, and so I decided I'm gonna be me.
What did that look like?
That looked like being the social butterfly, being with friends, being out, and that was something that was new to my parents.
So when you're out there and being social, whatever that may mean, we might explore that a little bit. But when you're out there being social, you feel okay?
Oh yeah.
You feel better than you do at home?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. There was a lot of problems in my home, but at the same time, my parents did the best they could because my dad had to have a kidney transplant when I was in 7th grade. And so that took a lot of time and energy, and us kids had to keep it together at home because doing dialysis is 3.5 hours, 3 times a week.
Yeah, that's rough.
Yeah. And that went on for over a year.
A lot of fear there? Did you?
Oh, yeah.
Were you scared that your dad might pass away? Or?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah,
Yep.
that's hard on a kid for sure.
Yep.
Okay, so high school. How was high school for you?
High school, I did great freshman, sophomore year, and then
Academically, you did great.
academically, I
Okay.
did fine. And then I started messing around with friends during school because that was funner. And then
What does
senior
that mean,
year,
messing around with friends during school?
just going and playing instead of going to
Not
school.
being in school.
Oh, yeah,
You're
sloughing.
skipping a lot.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And then senior year, I reined it back in because I wanted to finish, and I held down 4 part-time jobs, an internship, was in
Whoa.
CNA program, still going to high school.
Whoa.
And then 2 months before high school graduation, I got pregnant.
That's what happens when
Yep.
you mess around with friends.
Yeah.
Everybody.
But my high school had pulled me in after
So
the
you're how old at this point? 17?
17.
Okay.
Yep. I had moved in with my grandma, so I was
Okay. A little more independent.
a little more independent.
Sure.
She needed somebody. She was there by herself.
Okay.
So 2 months before graduation, they pulled me in and they had miscalculated my math credits that I had to do makeup for. And so I wasn't going to be able to graduate with my class.
Ooh.
So
Suddenly you find yourself pregnant and scared that you're not going to graduate.
yeah, and nobody knew but me and my husband.
Right. And you can keep this
So-
from your family.
Yeah, because I wasn't
So
living
far.
with them.
Right.
Yep.
Okay.
In fact, they didn't find out.
Did-
So I ended up losing the baby.
Oh, did they know you were pregnant?
No, they didn't know till
They
2
didn't
weeks
find-
after.
They didn't find out while you were pregnant.
No.
Okay.
Nope.
Okay, so you had a miscarriage.
Yep. So
Okay.
being from a very strong LDS family, that caused some waves. So I moved in with my boyfriend,
Okay.
which
That
is now my
won't,
husband.
that won't cause any more waves with the family.
No, but at least I wasn't there to see him.
Right.
Yep.
Right. You don't have to feel the waves.
Mm-mm.
Exactly.
No, but that started the cycle of my deepest depression.
Okay. And that's all because of what?
Losing the baby,
Okay, that's
all of it.
listen, for those of you that are listening out there that are male, we don't understand the depression females go through when they have a miscarriage. I don't think we can comprehend it. I've been around a lot of miscarriages. As you know, I used to be an obstetrician, and men just don't understand the depth of despair that you feel when you lose a baby.
Yeah. And I think
tough.
being that young, it had a very big impact because at 18, like it changes your whole life.
Oh, sure.
And then to have that taken away so abruptly, that was hard to process through.
Sure.
And that was the first time I can remember the deepest cycle of depression for my bipolar.
Okay, so you're depressed. You're living with your boyfriend.
Hmm.
What do you do with that?
I got a job,
Well, that's
And-
interesting
threw myself into work.
Right.
So there comes the manic.
because you can crawl into a closet and
Mhm.
not go out anywhere and not.
Yep.
Well, you decided to grab a job and go work hard.
Yep. And I worked my way to the top. I worked at Flying J in Payson. And I worked my way from buffet attendant to,
It's the Flying J Cup, by the way.
I worked my way from buffet attendant up to accountant
Nice,
in
good
a
for
matter
you.
of a year.
Sweet.
That's
So you're
awesome.
doing books.
Yep.
The Flying J, awesome.
Night manager, books.
And you're 18, I'm guessing.
18, 19.
Yeah.
I had turned 19 by then.
Yeah, and you're an accountant for Flying J, basically.
Yep. Got pregnant with my first,
Okay.
my oldest.
Haven't gotten married yet.
Yes, we got married in 2001.
Okay.
So I lost the baby in 2000. We got
Okay.
married
2001.
in November 2001
Okay.
and had Riley in 2003.
Okay. We're
2004.
okay. We're cruising along, but we're about to
Yeah.
our halfway point. We got just a little bit left here, so we're gonna leave the listeners hanging for a second. But when we come back, we want to talk about sort of how you got into substances and then how you got out of substances and go from there. But
hopefully finish on like a recovery message too, right? Podcast about recovery.
we're not going to do that.
Yeah, that's typically
What
what
we're
we
trying
would
to
like
do.
to do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks for
Not just like a bio and
Thanks
then
for reminding
active
me.
addiction and then end. That's kind of not a feel-good podcast.
This is what we have Jared for. The structure. Because I'll just ramble for an hour.
But we've got to know Melissa, and that's been
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah.
The backstory's been amazing. Thank you.
Thanks.
Join us in part 2 for her life in her journey through active addiction, her life in recovery, and what she's doing today. See you guys after this 30-second break.
You are listening to We Do Recover with Jared Miller and co-hosted by Dr. Terry Sellers. We'll be right back after this short break with more of We Do Recover with Jared Miller, sponsored by Steps Recovery Center and the Hilton Garden Inn.
I'm Desmond Lomax, one of the clinical executives here at Steps Recovery, and once you become of the Steps family, you're just a part of the Steps family. A lot of us have overcome substances, overcome addiction, and now we're able to help other people. Second of all, we're also going to help you in a way where you can afford to be helped. Third of all, we're going to give you the same quality that many organizations are charging 2 to 3 times, and it's more about you than it is about our organization.
We welcome you back to We Do Recover with Jared Miller, co-hosted by Dr. Terry Sellers. Brought to you by Steps Recovery Center and the St. George Hilton Garden Inn. And now with part 2 of our podcast, Jared Miller and Dr. Terry Sellers.
All right, welcome back. So part 2, episode number 49. We're almost to 50.
Almost.
Of We Do Recover with Jared Miller. And we've been talking to Melissa Mitchell, and we've talked a lot about her childhood and us on that. And we're going to get into sort of her active addiction and then recovery. But first, part 2 is sponsored by the Hilton Garden Inn. Where did you stay last night?
The Hilton Garden
Oh,
Inn.
it's beautiful, isn't it?
It
I
is.
love the Hilton Garden Inn.
Love
so
those guys.
they're our sponsor. They're really good to us. If you happen to find yourselves in southern Utah, traveling through or coming down or coming up, if you're from south of here, give them a Google search, Hilton Garden Inn, and they have the most. They have great amenities. The staff is wonderful. The pool is fantastic. The rooms are clean, comfortable, nice and cool. So give them a Google search, type in Hilton Garden Inn, and they'll take really good care of you. It's always sunny and bright at the Hilton Garden Inn. Did you know that?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
We like those guys.
Yeah, they're good to us for sure.
Yeah.
They're definitely good to us. So let's get moving, because I have a tendency to ramble and bog down a little bit sometimes, or actually all my life. And so we want to get a little bit moving on. But let's get into how you first started with substances.
So while I was working at Flying J, I had 2 injuries there that hurt my back. And I went from...
Wait. An accountant had injuries.
Oh, yeah.
Explain that to me, Jared.
Hey, some of those books can be heavy, you
Yeah,
know?
that's right.
So the government tells you have to keep the books for so many years, right? And what happens is when amazing people like Melissa are carrying these multiple years of books up the flight of stairs. Sean, help me out here.
Did I push
Okay.
a button that I didn't mean to push?
Okay. An accounting injury? That
Yes.
doesn't add up.
Oh!
Another dad joke. Woo! Oh, I love
That's a star in my book. You get a gold star for that one. I like that, actually.
Well, rolling chairs don't like phone cords wrapped in the wheels.
That's how it happened.
Is
And I was pregnant,
How do you know
so-
that? Did you ask the rolling chair if it liked it?
No, it bucked me off.
Okay.
Yeah, I kind of put 2 and 2 together when I was on the floor.
I put 2 and 2 together. That's an accountant joke, too. Wow, we are on fire.
We're killing it
today.
with the dad jokes
Yes, we
today.
are. So, what was the injury? You tripped?
Back injury.
Back, okay.
Yep.
Back is a tough
Yep.
injury.
Yep,
Those
that
backs
was
are
the
tough.
second one there. The first time I slipped on a wet floor.
Okay.
Melissa,
And
can you
so-
be honest for a second?
Yeah.
So I've seen a lot of
Oh, she
YouTube
can't be honest for a
videos.
second.
Okay, so listen, you don't work there anymore. You can totally tell us, okay? I've seen a lot of YouTube videos where people get in office chairs and they take a fire extinguisher, right? And they travel across the room. Were you doing that when you hit the phone cord?
No, my office was half the size of the studio. There wasn't room for that.
I really wish the answer was yes. And then
Yeah,
my
I
next
know.
question was going to be, is there video that we can find on that?
Yeah,
Because
we would show that to the audience,
No.
wouldn't we?
Melissa's being such a good
I know.
sport.
I know.
I know, we're-
Okay, tell us what happened.
Unfortunately, you know,
Okay, so you injured your back
injured
twice.
my back
Twice. Okay.
Yep. Workman's comp doctor gave opiates.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
You got a back injury.
What was his name and number?
Yeah.
Right.
And what
Just
did he give you?
I went for lots of years, just fine.
Sure.
One here and there,
Okay. Right.
you know, just
Right.
fine.
You took him sort of as prescribed initially. Sorry.
Right.
Yeah.
And then with my 15-year-old, I ended up with an emergency C-section after 17 hours of labor.
Okay.
And
Who was that terrible doctor? Don't say his name. I'm kidding.
he kept trying. I mean, he was giving me the chance.
Yeah, sure.
So,
I wouldn't have had to do a C-section.
Oh, boy.
if you saw his
I'm
head,
kidding. Oh, yes, I probably would.
Yep.
Yeah.
yep. And then I had to travel from Provo to Richfield after a C-section. So the pain was,
Yeah. C-sections are tough.
yeah. Yep. And
Also, another thing we routinely look at. Oh, you had a C-section. It's a major abdominal surgery.
yeah.
It's a big deal.
Yep.
It's 6 weeks of recovery at least.
Yep. So I think that's the first time, like, the phantom pain started in. I think I've done a lot of thinking over the years, and I got told 2 years in, just quit. You're going to drive yourself crazy figuring out where that switch flipped.
Yeah, we're good at the loop thing, huh?
Yeah.
Us OCD
But,
people.
you know, coming on the podcast, just trying to put timeline together,
I like it.
I actually figured it out.
What do you got?
But after the C-section,
Okay, that's
Yep.
your
Yep.
switch flipper.
yep. But I was always able to just rein it back in
Okay.
and be just fine. And then fast forward to 2008, I had my daughter C-section, and I was on IV Dilaudid for 5 days. And
So we like
That
to call it
s-
dream. I had once.
yeah, so even
Shock.
an hour after a dose, I was laying there just, the pain was so intense, and I couldn't figure it out until now with the knowledge I have. That's that phantom pain of your brain.
It's really your brain craving that
Yep,
that drug.
yep.
Right, Doc?
Yeah, so I want to toss a stat out because I think I've said this before, and I'm going to maybe reiterate it again eventually. But today I want to talk about it for just 1 second. We got to keep moving on the story. But there was a study done in 2018, I believe, by the Center for Disease Control, and they looked at prescriptions. And one of the things they found is if you go to a doctor and you get an opiate prescription, and your initial opiate prescription, I'm not going to quote the whole study, if your initial opiate prescription was for 28 days, you have a 50% chance of still being on that opiate at the 1 year mark. 50% of those people get addicted to that opiate. That's a gigantic number. Half of the people that, and who doesn't get 28 days of pain reliever for C-section, hip replacement, open knee surgery, heart surgery? Like that's not that uncommon of an amount of time. But doctors don't tell you, hey, by the way, you have a 50% chance of being addicted to this.
Yep.
I mean, sometimes they mention this is an addictive substance, but that's about it, really.
Yep.
Okay, so you had a C-section. You probably got sent home with a bunch of pain pills.
Oh yeah, yep. And like my daughter, until I got out of treatment, she'd never seen me sober a day in her life.
So you stayed on those. That's it. That
Yep.
second C-section, you
Yep. It
used every day after that.
it
You had
was
pain
it.
pills every day
Yep.
after that.
Yep. Within
For
that,
how long a period of time?
So within that year and a half, I ended up with 2 major surgeries,
Okay.
and it just never went away.
Kept going back.
And
getting
even
pain
when I
pills.
couldn't get my pain pills, I went into heavy smoking. Like it was just one for another. And then, of course, the phantom back pain was so intense.
Yeah.
So, you know, how are you going to cure that?
Right.
Here's your fentanyl patch and 120 Percocet a day. Or
Oh,
for a
that'll
month.
work.
For a month. So, you know, that fixes it.
Yeah.
I mean, Melissa, you just went
For a
on
minute.
some like light drugs. I mean, you're talking about Dilaudid and fentanyl.
Whoa.
I mean, that you were on some heavy
Yeah,
stuff.
those are heavy
girl.
duty
Yeah.
things.
That's
Yep.
enough to put anybody.
Yep.
Yeah, that's enough to physically make anybody addicted.
When I think about that, I think the stat I just quoted that 50% of people become addicted. They were talking about all kinds of opiates. They're talking about Lortabs and Percocets. You're not even talking about that at all. I
Right.
mean, those are the drugs you're mentioning are super, super addictive.
And that's the
Yeah.
kind of stuff they're giving people when they're terminally ill, right?
Absolutely,
Like,
right.
like when they're
That
yeah.
used to be the only use for fentanyl.
I think
is
they
in
should go back to
terminally ill
that.
patients. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, now you can buy it in your heroin or your meth, frankly. But
I'm
Yeah.
good.
yeah,
pass.
I'm with you on that. So
Yeah.
am I, because Melissa's going to testify how that ruined her life.
Yeah, how
Yeah.
did that turn out for you, Melissa?
Landed me in treatment,
Okay.
which
What happened
was
that
the best thing
made
of
you
my
go
life.
to treatment? Like what was the final straw, or what was the
So that went on for 8 years, but, let's start throwing more things at it. And I'd be on 2 or 3 antidepressants at once, add in some benzos, and let's throw in some muscle relaxers. And then, if that's not enough, Ambien.
No,
And
because it's hard to sleep on all those opiates.
yeah, so they don't really look very lightly of lunch ladies driving under the influence. So I ended up with a DUI,
Okay.
mugshot in my scrubs.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
nice.
Yeah. And then I downward spiral for a month. And it all came to a head when I was out for 4 days. And I was so sick. My husband gave me the ultimate, you got to go in.
You ran out of pain stuff for 4 days.
Everything.
Okay.
Everything.
Okay.
I bet you were
And-
just beside yourself.
Oh, I was so sick because that's 8 years of heart addiction.
Right. And there's a rebound that happens because long-term use of opiates, one of the things it does also is it causes sort of a hyperalgesia, meaning things actually do get a little more painful when you're on long-term opiates, so
Yep.
that your normal stuff. So my thing was migraines. My normal migraines got worse when I was on opiates. You have to be on it for a while
Yep.
because the opiates work for it for a little while.
Yep.
But then if you're on it for long enough, you get this hyperalgesia and things become more painful. So then when you stop, and your brain can't make its natural opiates because there's things called endorphins, right? And your brain doesn't make that when you're on long-term opiates.
Yep.
Isn't
And
that
so you
because
stop
the
and you get
body
super
is
painful.
the body is constantly, its goal is to achieve homeostasis, right?
The goal of the body is absolutely to achieve
And so
homeostasis.
when you introduce opiates, it basically levels up. It increases that threshold. Am I saying this right? And so instead of, having your baseline lower, it actually increases your baseline. Therefore, that's tolerance, right? That's how people basically become, their tolerance goes up and they have to have more and more and more,
Yeah,
is because
so-
it elevates their baseline.
So the actual physiological mechanism that happens is if you flood your opiate receptors in your brain with opiates, then what happens is a process called downregulation.
Right.
You start having less opiate receptors. So you can't even, if you've been on opiates for a while, you can't achieve the level of pain relief you used to be able to achieve.
That's what I was thinking of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so you can't even get there, but you keep trying
Yeah.
because you're now in more pain with less pain relief. And so, yeah, you can't even get there. And that's really one of the bottom lines of addiction is we're all trying to get back to that first use because that first use usually is fairly amazing, or at least the initial few times you use, they're usually fairly amazing.
Yeah.
And then you can't achieve that after a little while again. And so you're chasing that and chasing that.
Well, and substance abuse and bipolar don't mesh.
Well, bipolar doesn't mesh with anything.
No. So my manics and
Even
Oh, yeah.
marriages, bipolar doesn't mesh with sometimes.
no. No.
Okay, so your husband said you got to go in.
Yep.
You're
so
sick.
I ended up in the hospital with a magnesium drip because my heart was not okay. And then my husband had talked to the doctor and they decided I needed to go in the next day for a follow-up. And while I was trying to give a UA because I couldn't, he asked the doctor, could it be withdrawals? And he took one look at me and said, you need to go to treatment.
Good.
And that was the ultimatum. And I made some
Where-
hard phone calls.
Where was that? What doctor? I don't need the doctor's name. Where were you told you need to go to treatment?
At first, it was Provo Canyon. And then I called around.
No,
and-
I'm talking about when
Oh.
you're sick in the ER.
No, this was in the doctor's office the next day
Okay.
for a follow-up.
Okay.
Yep. And I made some phone calls, and we got into treatment later that afternoon. And it was a good thing because I was in and out of the hospital for 10 days with tapers, and my organs were trying to shut down on me.
Yeah.
So, and then the treatment center decided they couldn't keep me because of medical reasons. So I found Aqua in Midway and
Oh.
went to Dr. Sellers.
Whoa, Aqua.
Yeah.
That's cool.
We actually love giving shout outs to people that are helping people out, and I think Aqua is one of those groups for sure. So
Yep.
tell us
Yep.
about tell us the take home message you got maybe from treatment.
The take-home message
Or what
from
what changed in you, or what did you get out of treatment?
so much. I had a facilitator that would talk about his transformation, and it goes a step deeper than just being in recovery and clean. And when I heard him tell his story, I said to myself, that's what I want. I don't want to go back to before. I need it to be better than before.
I love that.
Yeah.
Whole transformation of your life.
Yep.
And that I don't know that I've heard that a lot, but I've heard it in different ways. But the way you just put it is lovely. Recovery is not about going back to where you were before you started using drugs. Recovery is about being better than that.
Yeah. I mean, there's people that talk about 50 miles in, it's 50 miles out. It wasn't for me. I had to go further.
Yeah.
I couldn't be to where I was before I started.
Right. And if you
So-
go the 50 miles out and stop right there,
Yep.
what kind of life is that?
Yep.
That's not life. Life is growing and learning and improving every day.
Yep.
It's crazy that you brought this up because September 19th, I've been asked to go speak out in Pittsburgh. And what I'm going to speak on is I've shared my story a lot. And what I really feel passionate about speaking about is exactly what you're talking about, the recovery movement. Like, we need people that have been through this thing to come out and go further than they were before. Like, have you ever experienced an ER when you're coming off of, any kind of substance? Like, look, you don't get treated the best is all I'm going to say.
Yeah.
We need some people to rise up and become nurses. We need some people like Dr. Sellers to rise up and become doctors. We need people that can be empathetic about individuals that are going through that and can get them resources for help. Because as of right now, what's happening in a lot of ERs is this. Oh, this idiot again.
Oh, drug addict.
Here you
Gosh,
go.
I
Get
hate
him out of
these drug
here.
addicts.
Somebody, he doesn't have anybody pick him up. Just send him out.
Yep.
And I'm not trying to badmouth any specific hospital, but that happens a lot.
Also, and this isn't related to your story at all, but the other thing that happens is a drug addict comes in with a bone sticking out of his arm, and the doc's like, "Oh, he's a drug addict. I'm not giving him any pain medicine.
He's just drug seeking.
Oh, by the way, there's a bone sticking out of his arm, right? So there needs to be. I just read a book called Dopamine Nation, which you should read, and it's really about how America is quite addicted to dopamine, which is what the final common pathway for all drugs and alcohol, the addictive drugs and alcohol is the release of dopamine in the midbrain, right? And the point I want to make is not that I read a book, because that's a kind of a miracle. No, it's not. The point I want to make is this guy said that we need people in America to teach us how to dig our way out of this addiction to dopamine. And he said, drug addicts and alcoholics are going to be the prophets that lead the way out of our addiction to dopamine in the United States.
Yep. Well, and Jody at Aqua was the first one that I felt like treated me as a human.
Yeah.
And it didn't matter that I was a drug addict.
Yeah. Jody's got a big heart.
And the unconditional love that I found in NA and in treatment for they loved me because of and not in spite of.
Mm-hmm.
And that was huge.
No comparison to your sister,
Nope.
right? Just
Nope.
we like Melissa for who she is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That's nice. That's good to get out. Okay. So you got out of treatment at Aqua. What'd you do
90
after treatment?
90 days in treatment centers.
Spent 90 days in treatment centers. Okay.
Yep.
You must have great insurance. That doesn't happen no more.
Exactly.
That does
Well, it
not
was
happen.
4 years ago.
You can. We beg for it to happen occasionally.
Right,
Cause,
right.
Yeah.
Because the statistics really show that this isn't a 30-day treatment. Like, that just isn't very effective.
No. And
There has to be a much longer period of time, and it also has to include not just the residential program. There has to be aftercare, follow-up stuff. And
You know what, though? I have a theory on that.
Tell me.
I like right now they're shortening RTC stays.
Right.
And I promise you this is what's going to happen. They're going to realize that they're spending more money when those people go out and lapse and come back. And go out and lapse and come back. It's like, just keep them in there for the fog to clear long enough for them to have a shot at PHP when they level down in IOP. And anyway, sorry, I'm not trying to take away from
No,
you,
you're okay.
Melissa,
No.
but
You're okay. But
man, I'm passionate about
I think
that.
you're right. I mean,
But
28
yeah.
days is when it barely has
joke.
cleared.
It's a
You
joke.
haven't spent any time really absorbing a lot of stuff in the first 28 days.
Well, and the tough thing is too, we're really good at manipulating as addicts, and so we call our families and we get the conversation like
I'm
this:
cured.
"I'm done with treatment.
Yeah, I'm
they
cured.
gave me this gold chip. I'm ready to come home. I got to get back to work." And then then the family turns around and goes, oh, treatment doesn't work. They went and they stayed at that place for 28 days and they didn't do anything. And what you expect for somebody who's been using for 5 years to get cured in 28 days?
Right.
Yeah.
You know, and then you ask them, well, did they talk to you about the step down process? What? There's a step down process?
Yeah, that's why
That's the gap.
that's why treatment centers are, if they're honest, they're quoting success rates of 15% or something in that range. And if, by the way, if you get a treatment center that quotes you a success rate of 90%, run away because they're liars. But
I'm glad we got that out there, though. Any families listening to this, there's some great education for you. RTC, when they go to a 24/7 hour care facility,
residential
that is not
treatment center.
residential treatment center.
If you
That
don't
is
know.
not treatment. That is the equivalent to the ER, right? Then they need to level down to PHP. They need to level down to IOP. PHP is partial hospitalization program. IOP is intensive outpatient. It goes 20 hours a week, 10 hours a week. Typically, GOP is 1 or 2 hours a week, but it's a level down system, and that's how you achieve success.
Yeah.
yeah, for sure.
Yep.
Sorry.
Well, and checking in,
No,
I
that's
was
okay.
like, 30 days. I can do 30.
Right,
like,
for sure.
We're okay.
Right.
But at 30 days, I did that first 30 days for my family, to keep my family.
Right.
And I knew I needed to stay to make it work the first time. And so many times I heard, like, nobody does it their first time. And come to find out, like, you can if you want it bad enough. And I did.
I think all three of us sitting at this table
Went to one treatment episode.
went to one treatment episode.
Yep.
Yeah.
I had to make
and that's
it work.
so doable.
Yeah.
Like the stats also show that the average person that gets and maintains long-term sobriety has been to 3 treatment episodes. But I've met enough people that have been to 18 treatment episodes that there's plenty of room out there for people to go to 1 treatment episode and get it right and not relapse.
They're just trying to compete with Robert Downey Jr.
Right.
It's just a cool thing. You know?
Right.
They want to become a Hollywood star.
Right.
We got about 5 minutes left. Let's let Melissa finish up
Oh,
with
yeah,
her
we're off tangent. Aren't we?
her recovery.
Weird.
Well, and so that's why I stayed 90 days, because Richfield didn't have any resources.
Yeah.
And so
That's
I
the
did.
problem living in a rural community is finding
Yeah.
resources for different levels of care.
Yeah, like Pathways wasn't there.
Right.
So I stayed the 90 days. I did IOP for the next 6 months through Zoom.
Nice.
And that was that piece that got me further than the 50 miles out.
Yeah, nice.
And the coping skills and all of that came with it that was taught changed my life.
Nice.
And it's stayed that way. And every day I find something to do for recovery.
What would you say? Yeah, so what do you do for recovery these days?
Lots of self-care,
Okay.
meditation,
Self-care is awesome.
self-care, meditation.
Okay.
And I knew from the second day in rehab in my treatment center that I wanted to be for someone else what I didn't get.
That's
Common theme.
not too uncommon. Yep.
Yep.
But it's beautiful. I love
Yep.
it. I love it.
It is beautiful.
Yep. So
Once you see that light, like I see this in several aspects of my life, but once you see a big light that turns on in your eyes, if you have any heart at all, you want to share that light with other people.
Yep. Yep.
So that's
so,
what you're talking
and
about.
coming home, like, it wasn't easy. These have been the hardest 4 years of my life because of things that have happened. But having the mental clarity to go through them and be there for the people that need it and myself is priceless.
Yeah.
So it took me about a year to recover career-wise from what was, because it's such a small community.
Sure.
I worked a lot of temp jobs. I did a lot of crap jobs.
You had to prove to people you were a different Melissa.
I had to prove to myself that I could suit up and show up, and I can take that rejection letter, and it doesn't ruin who I am.
Doesn't define you.
No, because in treatment, that's what I was taught, like, to love yourself where you're at.
Nice.
So it doesn't matter. And
What would you say are a few really cool things you've done since you've been in recovery?
so I went back and Aqua put me through their recovery specialist program. So I'm certified recovery specialist.
Okay.
I worked at a teenage treatment center for girls for a year and a half.
Well, that's interesting.
Bef-
Where was that?
Storm Ridge
Okay.
in Monroe.
Okay.
Yep. And then I had some things happen in my life that made that too hard to deal with the same things there.
Yeah.
And so
Little transference.
I made the choice to quit there and just do Pathways full time, because for a minute I was doing both. So, and I love it. at Pathways. I
That's
teach
nice.
groups. I call myself the T-crosser I daughter for the audits. 'cause
We need
that's what it is.
Everybody needs a T crosser and an I dot. Well, not
Yep.
everybody. Jared doesn't need one because that's what he does. But I need one for
Yep.
sure.
You know, the thing that I love about Melissa's story and her sitting here today is I think oftentimes, whether you struggle with a substance use disorder, an addiction, or a mental health disorder like OCD, and you shared bipolar, right?
Mhm.
There are ways to take those messes and turn it into a message, and that's what you're doing right now, right? And there are ways to find careers that actually make you super good at them because of the way your brain works.
Yeah.
Like when you can take something that people call a disability or a disease and you can use it to your advantage, then we move out of the victim lens into the victor, right? And that's beautiful. And,
Yep.
and thank you. Like, thanks for coming on and sharing that.
Yeah, we have a random listener named Judy Miller. I don't know if you. Anyway, Judy says thanks for sharing your story, and that's nice of Judy to say. Judy, by the way, is Jared's mother, and she's our #1 fan.
Love you, Mama.
So thanks, Mom. I call her Mom
Thank
too.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope she doesn't mind that, but I call her Mom too.
So,
So we're about out of time.
yeah.
Did you have fun?
Yes.
Did you get your message across?
Yes.
What is one thing you would like to say to people that are still struggling with addiction?
It doesn't discriminate. I am the face of an opiate addiction, and you can overcome it.
Yeah, you don't look like somebody that should be an opiate addict.
You know, a lot of my clients that are the recovery specialists say the same thing.
Yep, comes in all
Yep.
flavors.
Yeah, I said it doesn't discriminate.
Yep. Well, thanks for being on our podcast today.
Well, thanks for having
everybody.
me.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to share, like, whatever you want to do with this podcast.
Like, comment, and share.
Thank
the
you.
only thing that we charge you is please share.
Yep.
So next week we got a guy coming on that's going to talk to us about the state of Utah, a new program that they started. Can't wait for that.
Thank you for joining us today on We Do Recover with Jared Miller.
Help us spread our message of hope. Like, comment, and share.
If you have any topics or ideas for future shows, please share that on our Facebook page.
That Facebook page is We Do Recover with Jared Miller. If you or a loved one needs help, please reach out to us. Again, thank you for listening.
Brought to you by Steps Recovery Center and the St. George Hilton Garden Inn. This has been a production from a podcast studio.